Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast brought to you by our friends over at Briar-Greaves Insurance. Protecting your assets starts with a company that you can count on. So whether it's auto, homeowners, flood, boaters, or business insurance, there's nobody better in the business to work with than the good people at Briar-Greaves Insurance. For more information, visit briargreavesinsurance.com or give them a call at 813-876-4166. That's 813-876-4166. It is a Friday edition of the show. Appreciate everybody showing up in the chat. We are doing it a little bit earlier because we know it's Friday. Y'all want to party, do whatever, and you want to know what's going on with your Tampa Bay Buccaneers as quickly as possible. So we're going to try to do this most Fridays or most last episodes of the week so we can get everybody the content that you deserve and that you crave. So it was the third day of Bucs practice today. A lot of great stuff went on, both on the offensive and the defensive side. So we're going to break it all down for you this afternoon. I'm your host, Matt Matera, joined with me, my fellow bucket boy, Bailey Adams, on the show this afternoon. Bailey, how we doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I am pretty good. It was a fun day at practice. Again, we've gotten lucky right now. By the way, happy Christmas in July, or Merry Christmas in July to everybody watching. We're halfway to Christmas. But the past couple of days, we've been lucky where, first of all, we're just lucky we're watching football. We're watching your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that is a blessing. But also, the weather, I think, has panned out pretty well. It's the best that we could possibly ask for, considering it's July in Tampa, Florida. But a little bit of a breeze the past couple of days, and we're able to get through it.
Yeah, it's funny. I was saying to somebody earlier, we start practice usually on, I don't know, I guess that's the north end zone.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of a breeze. You can kind of feel it, and you're like, oh, it's not too bad out here. It's a little hot, but it's not too bad. And then we get over to the sideline.
Yes.
We watch that one time when the sun is directly on us, and you're like, okay, it is really hot out here. But honestly, yeah, I think for the most part, I can't really complain too much.
Yeah, Gustavo Espinosa says, let's go. Yeah, we love it. We're going to talk about Shiloh Sanders as well. Morpheus, a lot to get to on today's show. But I think, again, early on, I would say the first two practices, Bailey, were maybe a little bit more slanted or in favor of the defense in terms of who was really bringing it. But today, the offense and Baker Mayfield specifically struck back a little bit more. Bailey, I thought today Baker Mayfield was on his P's and Q's. He was as crisp as we've seen him over these last 3 days.
Yeah, he absolutely was. In first couple of days, taking some chances, getting some passes picked off, knocked away. Today, he was so efficient. He was finding guys short and intermediate early on. He had some kind of a little bit of deeper throws near the sideline, and it seemed like that was what we saw, I think, maybe the most of today was some of these, not necessarily deep shots all the time, but they were using the sidelines really well. Mike Evans over on the sideline, Jalen McMillan, another one. And then these rookie wide receivers, Tez Johnson and Emeka Egbuka have been both fantastic all 3 days, really, but they really shined today.
Yeah, we'll break it down with them a little bit more. But I felt Baker was at his best during 7-on-7s. Yep. That's when he truly, really started to heat up and pick things up. Found Mike Evans down the right sideline, connected with Emeka Egbuka a little bit more. But I also want to ask you, Bailey, because yesterday we spoke to Baker Mayfield after practice with the post-game press conference and everything like that. And he talked about the standard of this team and practicing and playing at an elite level because they have all this talent. He gave credit to Jason Light for all of the talent that he's brought in. He gave credit to Todd Bowles for the structure that he's had with this team. He said the standard should be elite, and he doesn't feel any pressure to bring the Super Bowl to Tampa Bay because he wants to win a Super Bowl as badly as, all the Bucs fans do. So do you categorize the Bucs as an elite team, or where do you have them in the hierarchy of the NFC?
I think they're a very good team, and I think they have elite potential. I think they can get there. I don't think they've necessarily shown yet that they are there, but I think that's where, everything comes into play. And talked to Antoine Winfield Jr. today, talking about, defensively, they feel like they're close to putting everything together. I think last year the Bucs were elite on offense.
Yes.
I just don't think they were there on defense. And obviously they still had that midseason slide. They still had to kind of, go on a late run in order to come back and win the NFC South again. So I don't know if I would put them at elite yet. I think there's very much the potential for them to be an elite team this year. I think I wouldn't be surprised if we're late into January and the Bucs are still playing football like that. That's how I feel like their potential is, and I kind of do really think the expectation is for them to reach that this year. This is the year for them to turn into that.
Oh, for sure. And I think what is also going to help this team is the fact that, yes, Baker's getting a majority of the reps, then Kyle Trask, then Connor Basilick. But because Chris Godwin isn't participating, and Mike Evans was back today, but he's going to be on a pitch count. He didn't practice yesterday. We're going to get to talk to him early next week. I think on Tuesday is when we'll get to speak to Mike Evans. But Baker is able to kind of share the wealth with everyone. I think Devin Culp, the tight end, has picked it up. I shouldn't even say picked it up. Has just gotten it together since training camp has started. And then we saw how useful and how much Rachaad White and Bucky Irving being the starter, is utilized with some swing passes and some screen passes early on. I'm not going to say Baker is comfortable in this offense, but he's comfortable with the personnel that he has. But at the same time, since it is Christmas in July, he's got some new toys with Emeka Egbuka and Tess Johnson.
Yeah, and it's crazy to me, and I guess some of this is they work together in the summer, and it's just how quickly him and especially Emeka Egbuka have gotten on the same page. We have seen in the first few days, and again, it's always the caveat where they're not in pads yet and all that, but Emeka Egbuka just looks so polished, and I'm impressed by what he looks like this early and this quickly into his rookie season, but also not just how he looks in running his routes and the crispness with which he plays, but how it just seems like he and Baker just already have a connection. They're on the same page, and if the Bucs are in a spot where they're without Chris Godwin early on in the season, or even at any point during the season, I think what we've seen already is Egbuka seems like he is ready to go.
Oh, absolutely. That's a really interesting point, because I was thinking about last year's training camp where we were all like, oh my goodness, Jalen McMillan is doing all of these incredible things. And that was with a healthy Mike Evans and a healthy Chris Godwin. And McMillan had a big play today that we'll talk about in a little bit. I don't think Emeka Egbuka, if you're comparing the first 3 days to what Emeka Egbuka has done and the first 3 days or the first couple of weeks from what Jalen McMillan did last year, I think McMillan last year has impressed a little bit more than what Emeka Egbuka has done in these last 3 days. But with that said, Emeka Egbuka and this year's version of Jalen McMillan, and I'm not saying that he's slowed down or anything by any means, but this Emeka Egbuka is getting so much more attention and so much more involved than really Jalen McMillan has either. It's so early, and I don't want to keep saying that, and we'll continue to keep saying it until the pads come on and stuff like that. It is so early, but in terms of schemes, operations, chemistry, and everything you said, it really does feel like Emeka Egbuka is just going to hit the ground running from day one. So remember, everybody, to get in your offensive rookie of the year bets on Emeka Egbuka, because it's a unique year with only Cam Ward, who we're going to see at joint training camp practice in a couple of weeks. Cam Ward's really the only rookie that is going to be starting. We'll see what happens in Cleveland. We'll see what happens with the Giants. But if there's any year to take a non-quarterback for offensive rookie of the year, this is it. And maybe Emeka Egbuka is the guy.
Yeah, and it's interesting that the last couple of days, like you mentioned, Egbuka getting more of the looks and more of the attention from Mayfield than McMillan is. And I can't stop going back to this, the comparison we've seen, like how Chris Godwin like Egbuka is. And with Godwin not out there on the field, it's like Ibuka's playing that role already. And we know that, last year before he got hurt, Chris Godwin was what drove the offense. He was the
engine a locomotive.
Exactly. And it's almost like right now they're kind of almost training Egbuka to be in the same mold as, like, yeah, you've obviously got Mike Evans and he's going to get his attention, but this is a guy in Egbuka who they think can fill that role if he needs to for Godwin, even if he can't. Like when Godwin comes back, he's going to need probably some time to get back to being himself again. We saw that in 2022. So to get him up to speed this quickly and get him involved as quickly as they have, I think that's only going to pay off when the season gets started.
He made so many plays, again, especially in 7-on-7, which is slanted towards the offense a little bit. But he's been an absolute killer on these crossing routes.
Yeah.
Just, 10, 15 yards, sometimes even 5 yards just across the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, Tez Johnson's got that down the field speed. But even, Todd Bowles spoke today, as he does after pretty much every practice. And one of the things he mentioned about Emeka Egbuka specifically is there are routes that Todd Bowles is impressed with. He might not even get the ball on the play, but he's impressed with the type of routes that he is running. So, yeah, I mean, he had a nice touchdown the day before, and then today, just getting open, the yards after the catch.
That right there. That was one of the things that stood out the most to me. There was the 2-minute drill late in practice where he kind of goes, like you said, on this crossing route. He created the separation to get open, makes the catch, and he probably got another 10, 15 yards before he was even touched. Like there was a DB, I don't remember exactly who it was, but there was somebody right there kind of when he caught it, but he was able to kind of like shake free and not get touched and get another, 5, 7, 10 yards and set them up. So it was, we've seen him do a lot, over the first few days that are really, really encouraging signs.
Yeah, if you play fantasy football and you're in a PPR league, a point per reception, or if you do like daily fantasy or something
dynasty
like that,
or anything like that, that's another one that
I joined some friends of mine. We started a dynasty league last year, and I got Bucky Irving, and I'm super pumped about that. But yeah, if you're in a dynasty league this year or you haven't done your draft yet, highly recommend going after Emeka Egbuka because you want him to have like 10 catches for 100 yards and stuff like that, but he's going to end up with a ton of catches, especially if Chris Godwin is going to be out for a little while. So a big day from Emeka Egbuka for sure, no doubt about that. Mike Evans, once again, proving why he's the GOAT. Again, did not practice yesterday, scheduled day off, all that good stuff. Today, some crossing routes he was great on. There was a lot of Galveston against Galveston again with Zion McCollum and Mike Evans. But there was one play in particular that stood out to me with Mike. It was really more Baker than it was Mike, but it was about I want to say a 25, 30-yard pass down the field. Mike was on the right side down the sideline. Zion was on him in coverage, but it looked like it was kind of a zone situation because Zion was in one spot. Jacob Parrish was like a little bit further back, and they're moving Jacob Parrish pretty much everywhere. Yeah. And Baker threw it into this perfect window where it was right in between Zion and Jacob Parrish, and Mike Evans was there making the play. They tried to hit him on a go route on the left side of the field later on. Actually, some good coverage by Jamel Dean. Mike had a step or two, slightly underthrown by Baker Mayfield. So Jamel Dean ended up with the pass breakup. But Mike was so mad. First of all, like he kind of went tumbling to the ground. I'm like, oh my God, like stay healthy, stay healthy. And then Mike took his fist and he punched it into the ground. I was like, oh my God, like you're a wide receiver, your hands, don't do that. You just see the competitor in Mike Evans. We had a comment before. I was going to save it for later, but we might as well get to it right now. I think it was about Mike Evans. Yeah. Rusty Cheney says, does Mike look like he has another 1,000 yards in him this season? If he stays healthy, Mike Evans looks like he has another 1,200 yards in him this season.
Yeah, I think I said it to either you or Scott or maybe both of you on Wednesday, the first day of camp. Baker hit Mike in the corner of the end zone.
Yes, that play was awesome.
Really good throw, really good catch. Honestly, good coverage from Zion McCollum too. And then there was another play he had later on where I think it was a little bit of a deeper pass. And I said, like, they can shut him down right now. I don't need to see anything else from Mike Evans in training camp or the preseason. I think he's ready to go. He looks, as good as ever. And this guy's getting into at least 30. He's about to turn 32, I think, in a couple weeks.
On August 21st.
And he just looks ready to go. And I think I would never probably bet against him to get 1,000 yards until he proves that he can't do it. But this what we're seeing from him so far is same old.
Bailey, the other wide receiver that stood out. So Jalen McMillan had a very nice play today. It was a deep ball down the left side, about 20 to 30 yards. Had a step on the defender there. I think it was actually against Benjamin Morrison.
I think it was. I have it in my notes somewhere, but I can't find it.
So and Benjamin Morrison's been fine, but someone's got to win a rep. So that was good to see for Jalen McMillan, again, picking up where he left off as far as like big plays down the field. But it was a 1-2 combo with the rookies at wide receiver because Tez Johnson, who we've spoken about a little bit, and understandably, Emeka Egbuka is going to get the headlines and everything. But Tez Johnson, I think without a doubt, Bailey, had his best day from a wide receiver standpoint in a Buccaneers uniform.
Yeah, I wrote it in the Camp Insider, and because Scott had even said it too, he might have had 10 to 12 targets today, and I feel like he almost had 10 to 12 catches. Like it was just, I think he was almost, he might have been in double digits in both today, and he was all over the place and making plays. And again, like I think when you ask Todd Bowles about anyone at this point in training camp, he says, "Oh, we got to wait and see what the pads."
Right.
That's on. I think it's probably more so with him than anyone, just because we've seen it before with some of these guys out here. But I think he's different. I think I know he's a small guy. You know, you kind of get the comparisons to maybe a Devin Tompkins or even further back. I know Kenny Bell had a great first few days, and then when the pads came on, he disappeared. I don't see that with him because look at what he did at Oregon and just the kind of the ways he gets open, the ways he finds space, and what he can do after the catch. It just feels like that's going to translate so well even when the pads come on. But yeah, today he was, I think, maybe Baker Mayfield was the player of the day. Yeah. Tez was up there too.
No doubt about it. Baker Mayfield did not have an interception today. I believe that was his first non-interception practice out of the 3. Again, long way to go. Baker really harped on yesterday as well that, you know, Baker was one of 2 quarterbacks, the other being your guy, Joe Burrow. They were the only 2 quarterbacks to have at least 4,500 passing yards and over 40 touchdowns. Nobody else, not even the MVP, Josh Allen, did that. Nobody else in the league did that. But Baker was more focused and angry about his 16 interceptions, which was a league high, tied with Kirk Cousins, which kind of impressive by Kirk Cousins, considering he only played in 14 games or whatever it was. But he was more angry about that. Now, I don't think the interceptions, what he's had, in this training camp has anything to do with the interceptions that he had last year. And he talked about, seeing what you can work with, seeing how the offense is going to function in certain situations. So I wouldn't look too much into it, but no interceptions is always a good sign. Tez Johnson, what stood out to me wasn't even just the amount of targets, it's more to me how he's impacting the offense and going against the defense where, Egbuka, I think the next step for Emeka Egbuka is like a little more down the field type of stuff.
Yeah.
Tez Johnson is doing down the field type of stuff. He's doing short passes and taking it for yards after the catch, and he's doing the intermediate things as well. Now, his size is always going to, be a factor, and you're still going to take Emeka Egbuka before Tez Johnson and things like that. But Tez Johnson is going to make this team for 2 reasons. Either his breaking tackle ability, which we're not seeing too much only because there's no tackling and all that stuff, but his ability to be a good punt returner. But anything he can do as a wide receiver is only going to help him that much more. It also helps that he's got Bucky Irving in his corner. But this was certainly a standout day by Tez Johnson.
Yeah, it was, and it continues to be, the different ways that he's winning. I think that the effort factor too is something I noticed, and a lot of us noticed, especially on one of the plays where I don't remember. I think it might have been from Baker. He gets hit. Might have been a crossing route, and he's going racing down the sideline, and he finishes the play. And sometimes you'll let up at the end, and he's finishing the play, and of course Antoine Winfield Jr. is finishing the play, and you would just watch Antoine trying to haul him down from behind. And Antoine said when we talked to him after practice that he got him. He said he wouldn't call that a touchdown.
Yes.
But it just seeing both of them, and Antoine was asked about it. He said it just makes everybody better when they come out here and play with such effort. And Tez is that kind of guy who's gonna, every rep he gets is gonna go after it.
That was fun watching Antoine Winfield Jr. chase him down. Now I think he would have already been tackled like 30 yards ago, but defenders, again, you're not supposed to hit the guys, so defenders will come by and kind of tap a guy on the shoulder or run by and act like they would tackle him. But Tez Johnson was like, screw it. This is my moment. The fans are here and everything like that. I'm just going to keep going and running down the field. And Antoine Winfield Jr. went and tried to stop him as well. So some good stuff from the wide receivers today. There was a little bit of news. If we're sticking with the offense, there was a little bit of news with the offensive line. So we have talked about, Bailey, that the tackle position is mighty, mighty, mighty thin. But they went out and made some moves. So the Bucs had tried out a couple of offensive tackles. They held George Fant for a workout. They had Chris Hubbard for a workout as well. Both veteran guys, been in the league for quite a while. They did not go with that. They went in another direction, in a little bit of an interesting direction. So they waived offensive tackle Silas Dancy, who was on the PUP list, physically unable to perform list. And they signed 2 offensive linemen. They signed the greatest of all time, Michael Jordan. No, not the NBA Michael Jordan. Offensive guard Michael Jordan. He's been in the league since 2019, played at Ohio State, then went to the Cincinnati Bengals. He was a 4th-round pick in 2019, played 2 seasons for the Bengals, then came to the NFC South, 2 seasons with the Carolina Panthers, was on the Packers practice squad in 2023, then last year with the New England Patriots, started 11 games in New England, but then was cut by the team in December and then went back to the Packers practice squad. But he has 40 career starts and has played in 67 games. What's interesting is that the Bucs are so needy at tackle. Michael Jordan, who is a guard in the NBA, has never played tackle in the NFL. He has only played offensive guard. Now, the other player that they signed is an offensive tackle, and it's a quintessential Jason Light type of signing type of player that they would bring on. That is Tyler McClellan, who was on the Los Angeles, I almost said San Diego, Los Angeles Chargers last year. So his story is interesting. He played at a school called Campbell. It's an
Camels, I think.
Yeah, the Camels. I like that. They are an FCS school. He went undrafted, signed with the Chargers. Unfortunately, he had a season-ending injury in the preseason. They were playing against the Dallas Cowboys. It was an undisclosed injury, but it was a leg injury, got carted off. So he missed the entire season going on injured reserve, came back for the offseason, participated in their OTAs and minicamp and everything like that. But the Chargers cut him in June. So this is another blue-chip kind of prospect, kind of like Ben Chikuma. Now, McClellan is much further along than Chikuma was. It was at least in an NFL locker room and facility and everything like that. But this is another challenge for Kevin Carberry with 2 different guys. He got a veteran guy with Michael Jordan, and then McClellan, somebody that, who knows, maybe they can function into a serviceable offensive tackle.
Yeah, it is interesting with the Jordan signing, especially because, like you said, we've seen how thin they've gotten at tackle. Obviously, with Silas Danzy being on PUP, obviously with and now being waived, and Tristan Wirfs' injury, you've seen I almost said Justin School. You've seen Charlie Heck, who's was going to just be their swing tackle, have to fill in at left tackle. So now there's that big hole there. And there's not really a swing tackle in place while Heck's at left tackle. So you're kind of wondering, what are they going to do? They're trying these guys out. And what we've seen more than anything is they sign a guard. Obviously, they sign McClellan, who is a tackle. But we've seen Elijah Klein taking a lot of reps at right tackle over the last couple days. And Todd Bowles, didn't say much about it the other day. Kind of just said, yeah, he's kind of one of those guys that has the versatility to do so. We saw him do it in the preseason last year as a rookie. Which I'm finding it very impressive that, this is a guy who was drafted to be a guard, and the fact that he put in a shift really well at tackle last year in the preseason and is doing so again this year out of necessity. I'm curious to see how that kind of plays out, because it might be that they're trying to fill that tackle need, the depth tackle need, with a guy in Klein, and then kind of almost backfilling his guard spot. So we'll see.
Yeah, Callie Bucs has now been a Pewter Report YouTube channel member for 10 months. Thank you so much for your support. Says Michael Jordan is putting on shoulder pads for the Bucs. Yeah, he played minor league baseball for the White Sox, and now he's going to try out in the NFL. No, I'm sure he gets that joke all the time. I got to give a shout out though to our guy Greg Allman, because he had a funny tweet. It was like, Tom Brady first, then Michael Jordan. The city of Tampa has been connected to a lot of GOATs. Now, hear me out for a second. So, yes, Tom Brady, now different Michael Jordan, but Michael Jordan on the Bucs. If you recall, Bucs fans, the last time that Mike Evans re-signed with the Bucs, Jason Light was with Wayne Gretzky, considered the greatest hockey player of all time. Lionel Messi, ever heard of him? He's some people's GOATs. Others say Penaldo, Ronaldo. Messi is my soccer GOAT, current soccer GOAT. He played at Raymond James Stadium
very recently
on Valentine's Day in February. So, a lot of connections to some of the greatest athletes to ever play in their respective field. We need Tiger Woods to show up at a practice or a game this upcoming season. So, that is the down low on Michael Jordan and Tyler McClellan. Elijah Klein, as you mentioned, Bailey, for the time being, he is moving over to right tackle, which is interesting to see. He did it with the game against the Jaguars in the preseason last year. He's a little undersized for right tackle, if I'm being honest. I mean, there was a great rep, actually by Chris Braswell, who we'll talk about in a little bit. It wasn't even like the speed of Braswell or anything like that. It was just being able to overpower Elijah Klein, to me, was the biggest issue. Klein kind of went flying on the play and tripped over another offensive lineman. So I'm curious to see what Tampa Bay does. Because at first I'm thinking, they're going to slide Michael Jordan over to tackle. But the fact that he's never played tackle, I looked it up on Pro Football Focus. He's never played tackle. He's been in the league long enough. I don't know if he's just going to willingly sign with a new team and move over to a new position. It seems like Elijah Klein is going to be the answer unless they go back to Fant or Hubbard or something like that and decide, all right, we're going to bring in another veteran player. But this is the situation that the Bucs are in right now along the offensive line. And it's a little too tough to tell right now because they're not in full pads and things like that. I'm not going to say the second string offensive line is in dire straits, but it feels like there have been some times where, and granted they're going against the starters, anytime there's a blitz or something big like that, it's been a little bit of tough sledding for that second unit.
Yeah, I think so. And I don't know. I don't want to read too much into it because I think they're maybe still working through some things. And we can't tell because we're seeing we see Tristan Wirfs out there. He's still got those are crutches, right? There are different kind of crutches than the ones that go under your arms. But he's walking a little bit. He's got the crutches, but it almost makes you wonder if they're not – I know that they need to get some tackle depth in, but it almost makes you wonder if they feel good about the timeline with him.
Yeah.
And maybe aren't necessarily feeling it's as pressing and can kind of survive for a couple weeks with Charlie Heck at left tackle, and then Tristan Wirfs will be back soon enough, and they'll be able to move Heck back into that swing role. But we'll see. I mean, the Wirfs thing I think is very much play it by ear and kind of see when he's no longer on those crutches and what the rehab process is like with that.
Yeah, and let's remember that whether it's the people they tried out, whether it's McClellan, however the case may be, even Klein, an offensive tackle, this is all for in case something happens to Charlie Heck or in case something happens to Luke Gedeke. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, they are healthy, they are fine, they play well, they don't play like poop during the season, they actually play really, really well. But you need to have a plan in place in case something else happens. It's good to have that insurance plan the same way that you can work with the great people over at Briar Greaves Insurance, the best people in the business to work with. Jason Light uses Briar Greaves Insurance. So how much more of an endorsement do you need than if Jason Light is working with the best people in the insurance business? If you're a long-time listener, you probably remember the late, great Mark Cook talking about Briar Greaves Insurance. Pewter Report, Scott Reynolds has been a Briar Greaves customer for years, and there simply is not a better insurance company in the Tampa Bay area. Visit BriarGreavesInsurance.com to see for yourself. Briar Greaves Insurance is family-owned, and their main goal is helping people. They want to help people find the right insurance policy for you and your family, whether it's home or auto, boating, or business insurance, turn to Briar Greaves and find out why their personal touch and customer service sets them apart. The days of waiting on hold to speak with an insurance representative that you don't even know are over. With Briar Greaves Insurance, you'll have a relationship with your agent who can answer your questions and advise you on the best policies. As 2 recent hurricanes have shown all of us that live in the Tampa Bay area, there is a cost to living in paradise. Briar Greaves can help make sure you have the right hurricane and flood insurance to make sure you and your home are protected. So visit BriarGreavesInsurance.com today. That's Briar, B-R-I-E-R, Greaves, G-R-I-E-V-E-S, or call their office today at 813-876-4166. That's 813-876-4166, and tell them that Pewter Report sent you. Again, Jason Light uses Briar Greaves Insurance. So if you love Jason Light and you love the Bucs, give a shout out to Briar Greaves Insurance. All right, let's go to the defensive side. I think we pretty much covered everything with the offense. Someone had a question. This kind of is a good segue as well. Someone was asking about David Walker. So, unfortunately, there were 2 little mishaps, little bang-ups, if you will, during today's practice. It started with Chris Braswell, who was having a pretty good day. We will get to David Walker, I promise. The segues into David Walker. Braswell, again, kind of building off what he did the day before, being able to get to the quarterback, and he was doing that again, had a good rep against Elijah Klein and all of that good stuff. But then a play happened. He was on the ground grabbing his ankle and his calf, and wasn't sure what was going on. He was able to get up and limp off a little bit, looked slightly hobbled, but he came back later and played. Now, David Walker, who's been having a pretty good camp, I would say. I mean, everyone's kind of getting to the quarterback. I know we talked a lot about Yaya and stuff like that. But David Walker, at the very end, Bucs are going through like 2-minute drills type of stuff like that. Kind of the same thing. Went to the ground after the play, was grabbing his leg as well. Yeah. Now, he also got up on his own power and was able to limp on over to the sideline. But that's something we're going to have to monitor going. There's no practice tomorrow on Saturday, but there is practice on Sunday. That's something we're going to have to monitor. Because remember, Bailey, he missed all of mandatory minicamp, was able to come back. But the fact that he got injured once again is a little bit concerning.
Yeah, it is. And I think the timing of the injury obviously was difficult because it happened right near the end of practice. It was during, I think it was like they're running like a 1-minute drill type of period where it was like 58 seconds on the clock. They're running. And I think it was even on a run play. Where he kind of just ended up going down. I don't know if he got rolled up on. I couldn't really tell what happened, but he stayed down for a little bit. The trainers came over and helped him off to the sideline. He was putting weight on both feet, both legs, and he was limping a little bit. And then he went to the locker room, so didn't get a chance to catch up with him after practice. And of course, with it happening right at the end of practice, and I think it's probably the case with any injury that happens during practice, Todd Bowles doesn't know anything until he goes inside. So when he was asked about it, he said, he doesn't have an update. He's going to go inside and find out. And then again, the timing is bad because we don't have practice to come to tomorrow. So we don't get a chance to talk to Todd Bowles until after Sunday's practice. The earliest we'll know anything is Sunday, I guess, unless we hear anything before that, and we'll try to. But the next thing we'll know is whether or not David Walker's practicing. If we come back to one Buck on Sunday, and Walker's out there in a helmet and he's participating, we'll know it was just a scare, nothing more. But other than that, we won't get to talk to Todd Bowles until after practice. So we'll just have to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, we're not here to like fear monger or anything like that. If anything, it could just be like how it was with Chris Braswell earlier in that practice. So, I'll have a day where he can kind of stay off his feet a little bit. The Bucs go back and practice on Monday and Tuesday. On Sunday and Monday. Tuesday, they practice as well, but it's also on the indoor or in the indoor facility. By the way, I don't know if we mentioned, we are live from the Bucs facility right now. We are not in our home offices. We are in the same room that we did the Bucs Pewter Report live Bucs draft show a couple of months ago. So shout out to everybody that went and watched that. We appreciate you. Scott and I did an episode in here as well when I believe it was the first OTA or whenever that OTA was on a Friday. So that's our plan for training camp when it comes to the last show of the week. I think we're going to do it in here so we can get it out earlier for everybody as well. Someone else I want to give a shout out to. So blitzes and sacks were coming in droves. Again, pretty good day by the offense, but the defense is still making some big and major plays. One person that had a sack today that I was happy to see was Logan Hall.
Yeah.
It was a nice stunt play with Yaya Diaby. Logan Hall got in quick on the inside, got to the quarterback. And I think people forget Logan Hall doesn't typically get to play on third down situations in games where it's likely to be a pass situation. Training camp's certainly different. You're doing a number of pass plays or a number of run plays and stuff like that. But Logan Hall, before I've said maybe he's the key to the defense and making it from, average last year to good or good to great. When I think about it more, I don't know if necessarily he's a key or anything like that, but he could be a driving force of like taking a little bit of steam and pressure off of Kalijah Cansey and Vita Vea. And it was good to see that today from Logan.
Yeah, and I think what kind of gets lost in last year, because there was a lot to talk about, but he came on like pretty strong toward the end of last year and put together his best year as a pro so far. And surprisingly enough, this is already a contract year for him, but off to a good start in camp. Today I thought even before the sack that he would have had on Baker, there was another one where he just kind of put a good inside move. I can't remember if it was on which side it was on, but got into that backfield on that one too, and kind of I guess that one probably go down as a pressure. Then he comes through with the sack later on. I thought he had a really good day.
It's been pretty solid from the Bucs defensive line. Kalijah Cansey I put in that Mike Evans category of just bubble wrap him, get him to the regular season. Vita Vea looks slimmer and slimmer each year while still being extremely powerful and mobile. Elijah Roberts, I thought had a good rep, was able to get through the offensive line. And again, I would categorize it more as a pressure and making the quarterback uncomfortable, but he is a friend of the program, and it was good to notice that as well. We had another we'll get to a couple comments towards the end of the show as well. But Zach Jarvis, a Pewter Report YouTube channel member now for 9 months. We appreciate you. Someone else was asking about him, Shiloh Sanders as well. Said, how has Shiloh Sanders been looking? Well, let me tell you, outside of, I'd say, Baker, Mike Evans, and Bucky Irving, nobody got an applause or a raucous crowd or a roar from the crowd the way that Shiloh Sanders did. He had a nice pass breakup earlier in practice, like pretty early on. And Shiloh makes the play. People start, cheering, stuff like that. He stops, looks at the crowd, and starts like hamming it up, going. He was whooping it up, getting everyone to go crazy. People were chanting, Shiloh, Shiloh, Shiloh. After practice, Bailey, we had the press conferences and everything, and then we had to walk the long way to get back into the building. It was like Beatlemania with Shiloh Sanders. There was fans mobbing Shiloh. Shiloh, can I get a picture? Shiloh, can I get an autograph? Like you see police there in the corner.
Security around.
Yeah. There's some security. There was some other Bucs people being like, Shiloh, we got to go. He tried to stay for as long as he possibly could. But it was a nice pass breaker from Shiloh. I think he's doing okay. I'm not saying he's spectacular. He hasn't been bad. He hasn't been torched on any plays, really. But it is Shiloh fever for sure. They love Shiloh Sanders.
What's funny to point out about this, too, is like after practice, we have these press conferences, and those are usually, I think today's might have been a little bit shorter. Yeah. But we talked to Todd Bowles, we talked to 3 players. So it's usually 30 to 45 minutes or so. Yeah. And this was after we got done with that. So we're walking back, and he's still out there. So he's been out there at least 30 minutes after practice. A lot of players do stay out and sign and talk to fans and stuff. But, to see him out there being swarmed, it was just someone asked how he was looking. Zach Jarvis asked how he was looking. I can't really tell you how he was looking after practice because there were so many people around him. I couldn't see him. So, and then obviously Scott Reynolds was able to catch up with him after practice as well and talk to him both about the pass breakup and the moment with the crowd there, and then what he was doing after practice.
Yeah, let's get to that video of Scott having a chat with Shiloh Sanders.
Well, you had a fantastic pass breakup today that ignited the fans over here with them screaming Shiloh from the stands. What was that like?
shout out to Bucs Nation, you know what I'm saying? It felt good. My first, fan interaction on the field, made a play. The fans show love, this is part of football.
And you had quite the cadre of fans over there, want your autograph, pictures. What's it like to be embraced by this fan base?
It's great, but with that, I know that I have to be on my game at all times because, as soon as, they'll love you, they'll hate you at the same time if you're not doing your job. So, it just keeps me on my toes and keeps me, paying attention to every little thing, making sure I'm not caught slipping.
And it was great seeing Pops down here on the first day.
Cool. Yeah, he just wanted to be a good dad and, come see me.
Shiloh, I know the Sanders family is, a little, it gets talked about a lot. I don't want to say controversial. Polarizing for sure. Dion, Coach Prime, was at practice the other day having a conversation with Todd Bowles and also, there to see his son, Shiloh Sanders. But it's fun seeing him so comfortable, in front of a camera. He's got a very popular YouTube channel as well. We'll see if he makes the team, but people are huge fans of him. There's no denying it at this point. People can say whatever they want to say on the internet, but he had a nice pass breakup today. Kathy Gillespie, it was fantastic seeing you in the crowd today. As Kathy says, awesome seeing you in the flesh, bucket hat and Matt. Yeah, I was wearing a bucket hat before. Bailey, you're wearing a UCF hat. But yeah, Kathy, it was fantastic saying hello to you in the crowd. We also saw Leighton Carter. So it was great seeing Leighton today. Took a picture with him. A couple other fans have come by. Thank you so much, Kathy, for saying hello. It was wonderful. It was a pleasure seeing you and our other fans out there. But Shiloh, his videos have been pretty fun as well. There was the one of him kind of dancing around in the parking lot. He's trying out different foods and stuff like that. So we got to tell Shiloh, hey, man, Shiloh, you got to check out walk-ons. There are 3 walk-ons in the Tampa Bay area, one over in Lakeland, another in Wesley Chapel, and a third over in Midtown Tampa, like 5 to 10 minutes away from Raymond James Stadium and the Bucs facility, but Raymond James Stadium a little more specifically. Walk-ons has great deals, fantastic deals, happy hour all the time, including all day on Tuesdays. That's $5 Tito's you can get over there. You can head on over to Walk-Ons right now as well. They have happy hour from 3 to 6. So finish watching this show, head on over, wait like a couple of minutes, and then bam, you got happy hour from 3 to 6. They have a wide arrangement of drinks that you can have, and their happy hour food deals are fantastic. I know we were having a ton of wings at Walk-Ons during our Pewter Platinum member get-together with Zion McCollum and Mike Greenberg as well. So they are fantastic. Eat like a winner, drink like a champ over at Walk-Ons. And speaking of our Platinum members, this is a good time to give a shout-out to all of our Pewter Platinum members. Thank you so much for your support of PewterReport.com and Pewter Report TV. So thank you to Scott Federico, Rachel Gordon, Noah Parr, Scotty J, Dave Anderson, Hezo813, Ash Fishpool, Joel Elrican, Sam, John Del Morris, Zach Brannigan, RP89, Eric McMillan, Connor, 4 Reels, Kevin Thomas, Zach Jarvis, Leighton Carter, who we mentioned before, Doug I is gifted, Brandon Riley, Alec Bickler, Nick Dubuque, and Mario Thomas. Thank you so much for your support of PewterReport.com. A couple of things in the secondary that we have to talk about as well. We saw 2 more interceptions come today. The first from Kendall Vildor, Bailey. You remember that one?
Yeah, so we mentioned earlier Baker Mayfield's extremely sharp today. No interceptions on the day. The first one came off of Connor Bazelak, who's obviously still there at the number 3 right now with Michael Pratt on the PUP list. This one wasn't even Bazelak's fault, honestly. No. It was a pass that it was intended for Ko Keefe. Ko went right off his hands and went behind him, and Kendall Vildor was right there to make the interception. So that was the first interception early on in practice. And then later on, Kyle Trask did have, I don't think if we mentioned this one, Kyle Trask had a really nice deep ball to Cameron Johnson.
Yes.
Over the middle of the field, probably the longest play of the day. But then also later on, he went and tried to go deep again and was intercepted by Kayvon Merriweather, who another guy had a really good day today too.
Yeah, so the Kindle Vildor interception, and he's been getting some times with the ones as well. Todd Bowles is truly sticking to his word of like everyone's going to get opportunities, everyone's going to get a shot. We've seen Jamel Dean with the ones, we've seen Benjamin Morrison with the ones. Jacob Parrish has moved around from nickel to even safety as well, even though it's going to be held down by Tweez and Tyke Smith as well. But Vildor making a nice play today. Again, more of a tip drill type of thing. Kayvon Merriweather, big play for him. Now, it was overthrown by Kyle Trask, but he was, trying to go stride for stride with the receiver on the play. Turnovers is the name of the game for the secondary. We know how much it's been an issue for the Buccaneers. We know how much Todd Bowles has been harping on it for a majority of this offseason. We know guys like Tweez can do it. He did it with 2 interceptions on that first practice. But to get Kayvon Merriweather into the mix, I think a guy that is going to be on the bubble for a final roster spot, especially with Shiloh here and J.J. Roberts and stuff like that. I think that was important because, to me, Kayvon Merriweather, I don't know if he has the speed to totally get it done at the position, but to see him make a play, and also Kyle Trask as a side note, he's the one that's going deep, I think, more than any other quarterback so far in this training camp.
Yeah, I think so. But the thing with Kayvon, too, is that he had the interception, and later on in practice in the 2-minute drill, the second-team offense was in there, and they couldn't get anything going against the second-team defense. And on 4th down, it was Kayvon Merriweather who came in on a blitz and got the sack, quote-unquote, of Kyle Trask to end that drive. So kind of getting it done on both fronts today, and I think it was a very good day for him to kind of get closer, and maybe it's not going to happen in 3 days. Obviously, the pads aren't on, but get closer to trying to solidify his spot as that number 3 or number 4 guy, depending on where in the depth chart you put Christian Izzy, and you kind of put him everywhere at all the different positions. So 3 or 4 for Kayvon there.
Speaking of Antoine Winfield Jr., he also had a sack on a blitz, came in untouched, was in there in 2.5 seconds. Baker just kind of had to be like, all right, I guess I'll just keep doing the play after. But Tweez very much looking like his all-pro form. We have a super chat from Meets McGee. Thank you so much for this $5 super chat. Says, in order for Shiloh Sanders to make it, he would need to beat out Josh Hayes, but see him out of the league in 3 years, then go full-time as an actor. It's very interesting because Shiloh certainly in college football was overlooked by his brother. Now he comes to the NFL. I mean, he's beloved by fans in Tampa, at least publicly. I don't know about online, where Shador got the speeding ticket. People are in love with that. It was a huge story about him dropping, which in the draft, it's not totally his fault. But Shiloh's got a very popular YouTube channel. It's quite enjoyable. I've watched some episodes and stuff like that. I think he's got a chance to beat Josh Hayes. I mean, I haven't seen Josh Hayes really do anything. I mean, Josh Hayes is more of a special teams guy. If he's going to make this team, it's going to be because of special teams. But if Shiloh can do that too, they may lean towards Shiloh.
Right. That's the thing is to win one of those, last few spots on the roster as a bubble guys, you're going to have to contribute on special teams. And obviously we've seen Shiloh out here mixing in on the special teams units on the different earlier periods in practice. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't know, what the future holds for him, but I think obviously with how personable he is, and he'll do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think it's way too early to tell, and we'll kind of see as pads come on and as more happens, what the future might hold for Shiloh in Tampa.
Paul, aka OG Baker Bro, has now been a Pewter Report YouTube channel for 11 months. Thank you so much for your support. Says, the only thing that derails this season is injury. I am fully convinced this is a Super Bowl season for the team. Appreciate, as always, Pewter Report's coverage of the team. Keep up the stellar work. Thank you so much for that. Also says, prior to the season opener, I will be upgrading my Pewter Report subscription, and I encourage all seeing this to do the same. Thank you so much for those kind words and for that kind notification as well, Paul, aka OG Baker Bro. That was really nice of you to say. I'm in a similar boat. I mean, they're already dealing with injuries a little bit between offensive tackle just being thin there, Tristan Wirfs specifically, Chris Godwin. Mm-hmm. But I feel like their depth is more rounded out this year than it has been in previous seasons. Now, every team can only deal with so many injuries, but for the Bucs, stay as healthy as you can, And don't shoot yourself in the foot like Cheddar Bob in 8 Mile. Actually, that might have been the thigh. But don't shoot yourselves in the foot because the Bucs have all the talent in the world. Sometimes they get in their own way.
Yeah. I do think, like what you said, is they're more well-rounded depth-wise than they have been, I think, in a few years. And we saw them go from a very, old team toward the end of the Tom Brady years to, pretty young team. And now we're kind of seeing them round out into more of a complete team. I think their depth at a lot of different positions was improved this offseason. Definitely in the secondary. I do think that there's some sneaky depth at outside linebacker are also very, very deep. Wide receiver is probably the deepest on the team. If anything, I think maybe the interior defensive line is probably where they have the least depth.
But we haven't seen Greg Gaines yet.
They've got some guys that that they like there, and we'll see more as time goes on. But that really is it. And to your point of only a team can only withstand so many injuries, even if they have great depth. Like we saw with the Lions last year, like they had so many injuries, and they remained a good team. Like they were still in it, and unfortunately for them that they got eliminated in the divisional round, I think, right by the Commanders.
Yep.
So it might have caught up to them eventually, but yeah, all you can do is build your roster the best you can, get the depth that you need, and some of it is really just out of your control. So we'll see.
It is, and that's why you got to capitalize when you can, because I mean, who thought that the Lions were not going to at least make the NFC Championship game?
Yeah,
and they didn't. Meets McGee with a follow-up comment talking about Shiloh says he played his father on a show. I did not know that.
Neither did I.
But that's pretty cool. It's happened from time to time. O'Shea Jackson Jr. played his dad, Ice Cube, in Straight Outta Compton. And then the show Winning Time, which was based on the book by Jeff Pearlman, Showtime, about the Showtime Lakers. The guy that plays point guard before Magic Johnson moves to point guard and they move the other guy to shooting guard, that guy's son, I forget his name, but that guy's son played his dad in that. So, so there are examples of it for sure. There are also great examples to go and manage your money the right way, and that's over with the great people over at Immunity Financial. They have proudly been serving clients across the country since 1980. They can help you with a number of different services, from advisory services to investment banking, annuities, and sales and trading. If you want to start a college account for your kid, if they want to go to college, you can do that as well. And they have offices all over the continental United States, not just in Tampa, not just in Colorado. You can go over to Delaware. You can go to Idaho. You want to name a state?
North Carolina.
Okay, nice. You can go to South Carolina as well, where Tyler McClellan, I believe, is from. You can go pretty much wherever you want to head to. Vegas, Anyway, check out Immunity Financial. Give them a call. You can get a free consultation over at Immunity Financial. Just some housekeeping for everybody. So the Bucs do not have practice tomorrow. Therefore, we will not be at practice or have a podcast. There is a practice on Sunday, but we won't do a podcast on Sunday. So our next podcast will be next Monday. The beauty of it is we will be recapping 2 shows in a row, 2 practices in a row. But then we will not have a podcast on Tuesday because the Bucs have a night practice. So what we're going to do is Monday have a podcast, recap Sunday and Monday's practice. No show on Tuesday, and then Wednesday we will recap Tuesday night's practice and Wednesday's practice as well. And then
no practice Wednesday.
No practice Wednesday. So sorry,
just Tuesday night.
We will have a podcast Wednesday, recapping Tuesday night's practice. So again, Monday podcast recapping 2 practices. No podcast Tuesday. Podcast on Wednesday, recapping what happened on Tuesday night, and then the rest we will.
Everybody got that?
Yeah, the rest we will have scheduled out. Sorry about that. Meets McGee, thanks for the $2 super chat. Says, I'm ready to make money this season with Matty Ice. That's what I'm talking about. Matty Ice right there. This was before I was known as Matty Dimes. This is a gift from a good friend of mine. Shout out to Justin. I didn't always love being called Matty Ice because that's like referred to Matt Ryan, who blew the Super Bowl lead. But, if you're going to super chat me, you can call me Matty Ice. That's totally fine. But thank you for the super chat. Pewter Picks and Props is coming back this season. I'll have a Pewter Picks and Props before the regular season kicks off, a couple of futures prop bets for players for the entire season. So looking forward to that.
No Pewter picks and props for the Hall of Fame game next week.
No, maybe I'll tweet some out. I'll do a X version of Pewter picks and props. Shaggy says, hit that like button. Absolutely. Please do. Let's get to a couple comments before we close out the show. Brian Clark says, we love the UCF hat, baby.
Appreciate it.
Shout out to the Pegasus podcast. Make sure you check that out. Tricksta 213 LAG says, loving the fact that we have all that youth in the wide receiver room and across the team. Hopefully we somehow find a way to keep our OG wide receivers fresh for a strong playoff push. Go Bucs. Yeah, I think it's awesome, Bailey, how the Bucs went from one of the oldest teams a couple of years ago to now one of the youngest teams, and it's certainly highlighted by that wide receiver room.
Yeah, I think so. And we saw it last year when in the middle of the year, Chris Godwin went down and was at loss for the season. Mike Evans missed a few weeks. Even at that time, Jalen McMillan was kind of on and off the field with his own issue with his hamstring. And so the depth wasn't great. And now you look at where they are now, and they're in a much different spot.
Yeah.
And, I will say, like, Ryan Miller stepped up when he needed to last year. And, they got a play or two here from Raheem Jarrett. Cade Otton was a huge guy who stepped up in the absence of those top receivers. But they're in a much better spot with that group right now.
Mark Alonso, a Pewter Report YouTube channel member, says, Pewter Report wing of the Bucs facility. Love that comment. Very kind of the Bucs to allow us to use this room and set up our, signature and logo and everything as well. So we're very grateful to the Bucs and their PR staff. They are the best people in the business. They're the best PR staff in all football. So super grateful to all of them. Meets McKee, very generous with another $2 super chat, says, sorry, please forgive me, Sir Matty Diamonds. You do not need to call me Sir Matty Diamonds. I haven't been knighted yet over in England or Europe, wherever the case is. But thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the kind words. You want to call me Matty Ice? You want to call me Matty Diamonds? Want to call me Matt, Matthew, whatever. I'm fine with all of it. But
just don't call him late for dinner.
Yeah, just don't call me Shirley or late for dinner. So we're going to wrap it up on that note. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching this show. Hopefully we answered everything that you want to know and all the information that you are seeking. By the way, we have a show coming up on August 4th with Tony Dungy returning back to the show. Coach Dungy was on last year. He will be on again on Monday, August 4th. We're going to get his thoughts about this team and reminisce a little bit about his coaching career too, especially in Tampa. So put that on your calendars, August 4th. And like I said, we will have a show on Monday. We'll have a write-up practice recap on Sunday with the show returning on Monday. So in the meantime, if you're not already doing so, please follow us on all of our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We are at Pewter Report, and our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment on this video as well. Who you are most excited about in training camp? What do you think about Baker Mayfield? What do you think about Emeka Egbuka and Tez Johnson, the rookie wide receivers? Would love to see your thoughts on that one. So that'll do it for us on today's show. For Bailey Adams, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks everybody for watching. We will see you Monday at 4 p.m. for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.